Hello, friends. Welcome to the Freedom Equation podcast.
We're here.
We are here. My name is Michaela Bell.
And I'm Scott McKenna.
Woo.
It's nice to be here. We're back.
We are back.
We're ready. Well, we say back because we did a podcast.
We did.
A different one.
Yeah. And I think it was sometime in December, maybe, or like end of November, I posted a clip.
Yeah.
And I said, I really miss doing the Scaling Creative podcast.
And then I messaged you. I was like, we should start a podcast. I know. I missed the conversation. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that we relate to in life.
Yep.
We're Enneagram 7s, which is the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, we're just entrepreneurs and people
Yep.
that like doing a lot of things. But we
Mm-hmm.
also are at a different phase in life. So
We sure are.
figured it would be a cool way to start it up.
Yeah.
I love podcasts, conversations. They're fun.
I know, they really are fun. And also, I think, too, we're both in this, I don't want to say new phase, because I think we've always been focused on impact.
Mm-hmm.
But in new ways, we're kind of learning about business in new phases as far as, I think I want to spend more time and have more freedom with my time and like where to spend it. I know I want to travel more. I want to spend more time with my family. I'm in a new season of like not being single anymore because I was
Yeah.
single for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Right. So we're starting to kind of think, okay, how can I be better about being more efficient with my time in my business so that I can have more time and more freedom to do the things that I genuinely want to do
Yep.
in life.
Yep. And that's kind of where the Freedom Equation podcast
Yeah.
name comes about, is the idea that we both have been able to build businesses and had some success with businesses and continue to have success. But we also realize, like, at the end of the day, it's not just about the work. And I think
Right.
a lot of people would say that, but I think a lot of people don't know how to get to that stage. They say, ideally, people build businesses and they try to become successful or even have money because they say they want to do more. They want
Yeah.
to travel more. They want to do this more.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that at the end of the day, that'll just keep rising that bar anyway. And
Right.
so most people end up making a lot of money and don't even do anything with it.
Correct.
Because they haven't actually put anything into place to be able to actually give you freedom.
Yes.
And I think ultimately people, more than financial freedom, they just want priority freedom. And they want to be able to do stuff with their time. But so many people work so much, they never actually do anything.
I know.
So it's like, what are you working for?
Priority freedom. That was a really good.
I thought about that the other day, and I was like, that's kind of really, when I think about when I was going through different job stuff and all that, that's actually what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
And that
point.
wasn't linked to money, because I know people that travel and love life and have all the freedom in the world, and they don't make that much money.
Right.
They just live on less.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to.
And are your priorities really your priorities if you don't prioritize them?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not.
So that's kind of what our goals with the podcast is, just to talk about ways to be more efficient, ways to build success in a business as an entrepreneur or to take on your side hustle, but how to do it so that you can actually enjoy the time that you have and realize at the end of the day that if you were to die tomorrow, you're not going to regret not working harder.
Exactly.
You're going to regret, or I shouldn't say if you die tomorrow, if you were on your deathbed tomorrow, you're not gonna be saying, man, I just wish I would have put a few more hours into that video edit or that job or that side hustle.
So
You'd be
true.
like, I wish I would have spent more time with family, friends.
Yeah.
I wish I would have actually went skydiving like I said I wanted to do. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah. Because I think in life we're so zoomed in, and what we're going to talk a lot about on this podcast is kind of zooming out and thinking about the bigger picture. Like, what do you actually want in life, and how can we help you create that
Yep.
by talking to people who are extremely successful and seeing, okay, what do you do to help you be more efficient? What are some systems you put into place?
Yep.
So it's going to be this beautiful combination, I think, of talking about systems and efficiency, but also with the focus of how can you do that so that you have more time
Right.
for the things that actually matter
Yep.
to you.
Totally.
So
I'm excited.
yeah,
But
me
we
too.
figured, it's 2023 now. It's a new year. And there's only one thing on everyone's mind when you start, right? What is it?
Yeah, new year, new goals.
New goals.
New
Goal
goals.
setting and goal failing.
Yeah.
that's what everyone tends to do, right?
I know.
Have
but
new goals.
I love focusing on goals, but I mean, do you do the same thing every year, or have you found that you're kind
Like
of
structure-wise?
changing? Yeah,
Like
how
not
you
set the same goals. Yeah. I definitely sit down and I think about, I always tend to want to look back first of just kind of, what did I
Reflect.
even do this year?
Yep.
Was it actually, did it remotely even end the way I initially told myself that I was going to do in January?
Which I saw your your episode
Yeah.
on your
Yep.
YouTube.
Yeah, and that was part of it, is like looking back, because I realized what I've done bad over the last bunch of years is that I just set too many goals. And then what happens is I have improvements in most of those things, but then as a whole, it always feels like I never accomplished a goal. And I was like, well, it wasn't possible. You have to be realistic.
Right.
So this year I've really tried to say, like, what are 3 things that I want to do, and are they possible with what's going on? That's the other thing I haven't done. I get unrealistic where I say I would love to do this. That's great, but then I forgot that, like, I have all these other things going on, and I can just throw those aside.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be realistic, but yeah, I kind of I'll take a look at what I ideally want to do differently, or maybe I take a goal that I didn't actually fully accomplish and say, you know what, that's still a big goal, but I want to focus on that more.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I tend to write them down. Like I'm a big digital person, but I write them down like on my iPad, so it's still digital, but the idea of jotting things down with a pen, or even if it's a digital one, just is different for my brain. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think there's a lot of science though to that actually, like, writing down your goals is a significant part of it, because it's anytime you can take what you're thinking in your mind and write it down on a piece of paper, it creates space between you and that thought or that goal for you to be able to, like, logically look at it a little bit better, and it also it helps you to remember it.
Yeah.
As well.
I even think that because I write slower than I type, I have to process it more.
That's a really good point.
Like, it takes me a long time to write a sentence.
Yes.
Even though I don't write neatly. You write, like, immaculate. But it just takes me longer. I can type so fast that I feel like I move on with my thoughts. And I'm almost wondering if, to me, that has something to do with it. That it takes me longer
1,000%
to just process it. Who knows? I don't know if there's any actual science behind it. But
I feel like there is.
I type really fast, and I can move on from thought to thought so fast.
You do.
And I have to actually wait. And especially if I'm trying to write neat, so I can, like, write it, so I can read it again.
Right, yeah.
Who knows?
I started doing something new this year, even with a lot of my clients. I have them draw a circle, and I did this for myself. I drew a circle, and then I put a line in the middle, So I have 4, like, pieces of the pie. And I had them write mindful rhythms on one, meaningful connections in one slice. And then, oh my gosh, it's like leaving my movement is one, and then mastery in the other. So kind of writing down different intentions or things that we want to focus on. My word for the year, do you have a word for the year? Or do you not do that?
I think I did in the past, but I tend to not forget it. I tend to not really remember what I even said.
So I'm a big word of the year person.
I like that.
So my word this year is rhythm, because I feel like last year my word was uncommon, which was it was very interesting. I'm a prayerful person, like, that's just part of who I am, and so that was the word that kept coming up, and I was like, I don't even know what uncommon means. Like, how could you have an uncommon year? That's weird. But I felt like I heard and sensed that it was like uncommon relationships, uncommon pace, uncommon shifts. And when I look back on my year, I had a lot of uncommon things.
That's interesting.
That happened. So this year my word is rhythm, and mostly because, like, when I think about the body and the brain, everything has been created with a rhythm. And I feel like I've been bad about my sleep. Lately, I've been, like, off with just different, even, like, movement goals and things along those lines. So rhythm is my word of the year.
That's pretty good.
But in the pie, so you kind of figure out, okay, what are some of my rhythms that I want to have? For me, I'm focusing significantly more on my evening rhythm. So I used to always focus on, like, getting up at 5 a.m. or getting up at 6 a.m. Now it's very different. I'm just focused on my evening, because it's significantly more important what time you go to bed than what time you get up.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times people are like, I want to start waking up earlier. Well, fine. But not if you don't go to bed earlier.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm always so tired when I wake up at 5 a.m. Yeah, because you go to bed at 1.
Yes.
Like, of course you're tired.
Yeah.
Like, I wake up early with the kids every single day, but I'm exhausted by 9:30 at night. Like, and I know there are seasons of life, so it's like not everyone's going to bed at 10 o'clock. But it's like, you can't just do one.
You
really
can't.
Can't just say you're going to wake up earlier unless there's a better night routine.
Yeah, so that's my biggest focus this year, is my evening rhythm. And then meaningful connections, I mean, really that's what life is all about, is what is my goal as far as even not just even people, but places. Like, we have connections to places. I really fell in love with Arizona recently. Like, there was just, like, calm. that I felt there, but also an incredible creative energy that I felt like was there. And then movement, obviously, is important. So not like I want to lose 10 pounds, but more so I just want to move every single day, even if that's walking the dog or dancing in my office. Like,
well, it's so important for
those
you. And I
lines.
think as soon, and especially as you get, I mean, we're getting a little bit older. We're not old, but like,
not old.
it becomes more and more important.
Yes.
Because when you're a kid, you're moving around so much and doing things. Like I used to be so active just naturally.
Yep.
When you have kids and when you start to have a rhythm and you start to work and you're sitting at a desk a lot, you just a lot of times you don't just get any physical activity, not even exercise, just activity.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you can stand up for the first time and you're like, wow, I've been sitting for hours and hours on end.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of us too, like we're so busy that it's hard maybe to get to the gym every single day, and then you beat yourself up. Like, oh gosh, I didn't go to the gym 5 times this week.
Right.
But maybe instead just focus on some type of movement for your body. And the last one is to master something, because when your brain is focused on one thing and learning how to master that one thing, there's so much science behind it of just how effective it is for you as like a human being, just to like, because maybe yours is
I was gonna say
piano.
The piano. Yeah, and I was actually gonna say it kind of ties into that. The one thing that I've realized in my life is I almost need to have, when I'm doing creative work, for example, studies obviously show many times that you can only be creative for so long before you need breaks of things. And so I've intentionally whether I'm editing or whether I'm doing something that's, tedious work that I'm at a computer for extended period of time, I try to literally take like a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break every hour and a half. And I literally will like play piano. Not one, because I'm trying to learn how to get better, but also because when I go to something entirely different and something that I also don't even know well, it's not like I just go to a guitar or something that I know. I have to my brain has to change and it has to start to learn and it has to try to do something different. And it gets me right out of what I was doing. But then once I go back, I feel like refreshed and new. So even thinking about that is that, is there little mindful hobbies or exercises that you can do, whether it's drawing or maybe journaling for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Because your brain sometimes just needs a break from what it's doing.
1000%.
So something,
What's that one
technique?
About. It's called it's not Pomodoro or I can't remember what the name of it is, but essentially you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break and work for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break.
I don't know what it's called, but I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, we'll pop it up on the screen, whatever that word is. Sometimes we think about things and we can't really think about what the actual word is, but
story of my life. But anyways, I use it all the time. Like just putting a little time, especially for like if you have ADD or ADHD or like neurodivergent kind of thing, that is super helpful for you to be able to take those breaks, because it's hard.
And to not beat yourself up about that you have to take them.
Yes.
Because I think that's what I've really started to learn more about myself, is just that I can't focus that long. There's just no way about it. And instead of getting done with a day and feeling like, okay, sure, I sat on my computer for 8 hours, but I was so sidetracked I wasn't able to give focused work. I am more productive if I can take little breaks and do things and get my mind out of where it is and start over. Something
that you said in there is really important, is to not beat yourself up, because I was looking at some different like goal setting statistics, and we kind of all know that most people don't actually hit their New Year's quote unquote resolutions or goals, and that I think it's like 80% of gym members, people that start a gym membership in January are kind of done within the first couple months of the year,
which is why gyms make you sign a 1-year contract.
Exactly,
because they know that you're not gonna
kind of smart, not gonna lie.
yes 100%.
But there are reasons as to why that typically happens, and I just wanted to share 2. The first one was that a lot of people set goals that they don't actually want. So for example, if you write down like losing 10 pounds, that's actually not what you want. What you want is to walk into a room and feel confident. What you want is to like feel good about yourself when you're being intimate with your spouse. What you want is to look in the mirror and like feel confident. So if you're writing down super external goals, think about, but what is my actual desire?
It's like the power of why. I mean, it's no different with business, right? It's
correct.
Like the idea that you have to know why you're doing it.
Yes.
Or else it's not going to happen.
Yes. And then don't focus so much on necessarily. So it's like, okay, you have your external goal. Why do you actually want to do that? And then what can you focus on in what you already have in that? Like, when do you feel confident? When, like, just ask yourself some of those kinds of questions, because wanting something already puts you in the position of lacking it. So, which is why gratitude is so incredibly powerful. Especially if it's a practice that's done every single day. So think about, okay, what am I grateful for that my body can do right now? So that way you're in an abundance kind of mindset as opposed to a lack.
Yep.
So
Love that.
That's the first one. And then the second thing is we focus on no instead of leaning into yes. So for example, like, again, I'll just use the losing 10 pounds thing. You might be saying to yourself, well, maybe I should say no to carbs and not have soda and not drink at all. So instead of thinking about those things, because you're just going to end up wanting more of what you quote unquote can't have. So instead, lean more into the yes. So what are you saying yes to this year? And shifting that focus a little bit, I think really helps.
Yeah.
All from an internal perspective.
Yeah. And that definitely makes sense. I mean, I think that's a great point, and especially number one, I like, because a lot of people just they set such a random a goal that is like, okay, great, that's easy for anyone to say, and really understanding the power of why you're doing it. And then I always try definitely to take a look at my goals and make sure I say not only, okay, I want to feel more self-confident. Okay, well, what are the steps it needs to take to actually make that happen? That's the biggest thing. It's like if you say you want to get in shape, you have steps to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, they'll be like, I'm going to join a gym and I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. You're not going to do that. You're not going to go from 0 to 7 days a week.
Right.
You have to make steps, and you have to actually lay out, like, what would a good first month look like to me? If I could go, if I don't go to the gym at all, going 10 times in January would actually be a drastic difference.
Right, 100%.
But yet, if you look at it and say, well, 10 times, that's only actually 2.5 times a week, 3 times a week. That doesn't feel great if you just say, I'm only going to go to the gym twice a week.
Right.
But it's way better than going 0 times a week.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's trying to build steps to understand that there's success in the journey, and you have to, like, be excited about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're looking to build a business, don't just say, I want to build a business. And yeah, I think James Clear talks a lot about that in the Habits book, of just the idea that try to get 1% better.
Yeah.
And try to just get closer to it.
Yes.
And set up success. And so when you write down your goals, maybe write down, okay, if the goal is to lose 20 pounds this year, then that means realistically I want to lose 2 in January and maybe 1 more in February. It feels super small when you look at it that way, but that's actually what you're trying to do.
Yes.
If the goal is 10 pounds, but then you get that by February, are you done?
Yeah.
Or are you just liking the continued fit? You know what I mean?
Right,
So trying to figure out, because that's the other thing about a goal is you might be a person that actually sets super realistic and easy goals. But realistically, you're not, when you're in your example, when you're trying to look more confident, it's not necessarily 10 pounds that's going to make you feel more confident.
Exactly.
It's the whole package of feeling more confident.
Yes.
So when you can set up the why and
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to do, then it's easier to kind of say, am I making improvement in that direction versus just, did I lose 10 pounds? Yeah. Do I feel confident? No.
Right. Exactly.
Well, then that might have been not the only thing.
Right. Right. And that's why it's so important to look at your goals and think, but what do I actually desire in this? Like, what goes deeper than just that external piece of the puzzle?
And how do I measure
that?
How do I measure the success?
Yeah. Because what you measure multiplies or is minimized, depending on the desire of that goal. But yeah, it's super important to measure it. And if you want to feel confident, kind of asking yourself, when do I usually feel confident? Because we all feel confident at some point in time, or maybe you just haven't felt it in a while. So think back to the time when you did, and what was it that made you feel confident, and how can you press more into those things, like checking in and how you're feeling.
Totally.
Which is why I'm a big journaler.
Yep.
And I don't know, is it harder for guys to journal? Like, is journaling quote unquote a girly thing to guys?
I think it might sound that way, but I would say I totally disagree because like that I don't think that it is a girly thing because
Definitely
I've been
not, yeah.
journaling. I've been journaling since 2014 using the same like iPad app, and I may only do it once a week. I may randomly do it a bunch, but every single time I go on that app and if I've journaled that same day, it'll say like on this day, you know, whatever, many years ago.
That's cool.
And I love it because
so cool.
what it's actually helped me face the reality of is like certain things that I'm not happy with or complaining about now. I was complaining about 6 years ago too. So it's like, not that I want to see that, but it's like, hey, this little thing you're trying to work on is more of a you problem.
Yeah.
This isn't this.
Yeah.
You asked for this at this time and it happened, and now you're asking. You know what I mean? So So I think it's incredibly valuable because it helps you to really look back at where you were to see if you are improving, and it kind of can be your measuring stick potentially. Because like with fitness, it's the measuring stick is to a point easy because you can just take a picture, you can look before and after and be like, cool.
True.
A lot of other things don't have that exact same measurable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because the bar raises so fast of what your new standard is with businesses or building a business, or if I want to increase my revenue in a business, it's sometimes, you can look at your revenue increase or whatever, but it's sometimes harder to measure, like, am I actually making success in it versus something like weight loss.
Right.
Or something like, I want to spend less time on social media. Okay, well, you can look at that in an app and see if you've done it less.
Yes.
But not everything's that measurable.
That's very true.
And then you can get yourself frustrated that you feel like you're not making any progress in it when you may be making a lot.
Yeah. And celebrating every single small win is so important because even it communicates to your brain like, oh yeah, I did something.
Yep.
Which is why, so I mean, we definitely recommend the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. What are some other good books that maybe we can kind of link in here?
You know me, I'm not a huge reader.
Yeah.
I do think that, so I'm more of some tools that I feel like, you know, can potentially help people. Yeah, but I don't. I'm more of like a podcast. I'm definitely more of that than I am straight up just, hey, this book's supposed to be really good. Like I've done that with some, but I find that I'm much more. I'd rather find a 30-minute podcast that I really like, or a random YouTube video that's more kind of the random inspirations I get than just a straight up book. Yeah. So I know you read more than I do.
Yeah, I love to read. Yeah. But that's a really good point too, because I think people in this one company that I used to be a part of, they would always say like, leaders are readers. And I remember some of my friends being like, well, I don't read, so I guess I'm not a leader. I'm like, oh, I kind of hate that because you definitely are. So
leaders absorb.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like
they learn. Leaders learn.
Leaders learn. That I think that's a way better one. So whether it's Audible, whether you're listening to books or listening to podcasts, I think that soaking, being a sponge and learning is incredibly important. So yeah, I can think of a couple maybe podcast episodes even too that we can. Yeah,
we can link some because there's lots of different podcasts on things. There's lots of different tools, and it's important to realize that there's not a single tool that's going to work for everybody.
Correct.
There are some really, really amazing paper planners that are super valuable for someone, but that doesn't work for everybody.
Correct.
There are some digital tools that are amazing.
Yep.
But if you're not a digital person, that doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
So it's also important, no different than watching someone in their fitness goals. Your journey is different than others, and you have to really understand, going back to what you said, which I loved, is understanding what works for you and what, when I think about my creativity or when I think about even actually just happiness in life, whenever I feel like I'm in a really, really good mood, I try to link, like you said, what put me in this mood.
Yep.
And when I'm really miserable, same thing, what put me, to try to keep getting triggers that make your brain say, so if I know that whenever I play piano, 30 minutes after that, I'm in the most creative brain. Okay, well, I want to schedule creative tasks around that. Or if I say I'm a night person and definitely not a morning person, if my schedule permits, I need to create the tasks that are most creative or most important in the time that I do it best.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people don't really realize how things in their life are triggered, and it's for goals. I think it's the same thing. And when you're scheduling your day, if you are an entrepreneur and you have some flexibility in your schedule, the reality of how much it matters that if you're a person that that is bogged down and completely loses energy from having meetings all day, but you schedule your whole day in meetings, and at the end of the day you do what you actually like, you're asking yourself for like you're going to be in a horrible position because you're going into what you actually like doing the most in the worst possible mode for it versus the opposite.
Yeah.
Schedule your creative tasks right away and schedule meetings later, or whatever it is.
Yep.
And I feel like goals, that also goes in the same thing.
Yes.
If you're a person that wants to get in shape, but you know that by the end of the day at 8 p.m., the last thing you want to do is go to the gym, what do you have to do? You have to go to the gym early.
Yeah.
And make yourself do it because it doesn't just come.
Correct.
Goals don't just happen. Like you don't fall into success. Like you have to really make an effort to do it.
Yeah, and I think that one thing, I feel like there's a thread here that I keep hearing both of us talk about is that embracing that it's unique for you. And I think a lot of times when we set goals, they're a lot of what other people are also setting. So really thinking, what is it that I desire and noticing how do I feel throughout the day? Like when do I feel happy? When do I feel creative? When do I feel motivated? And look back, okay, what are the things that I do that help me feel that way? I actually have a client who she feels so motivated like after she cleans a little bit. So one of the things I said, well, why don't you do the dishes before you start some of your like work that you really need to be productive and creative with?
Right.
And she started doing that. Like, and it's like the best thing ever for her, doing her dishes.
Yeah, because you have to understand you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the thing. Like, get to know you. And we really do live in a world where it's so I don't think most of us really know who we are and like what we actually want in life because we don't take time to go inward and to say, what do I like? What makes me happy? What makes me creative? What makes me productive? All of those things because you are so unique and that's a beautiful thing.
Yep. And you can't be chasing other people's goals.
No, I did that for a long time.
Just because your friend's trying to lose 30 pounds doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
Like you may want to lose 5 pounds. Like, and not comparing yourself to others and understanding what your goals are and not caring whether or not someone likes your goal or not. I mean, that's a whole topic in itself. Because I mean, if you're trying to please other people, you're in big trouble in the first place.
Yeah. Be careful who you tell your goals to.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's true too. Yep. There's goal killers. They exist all over the place.
Yeah.
Is that really what you want to do?
I know.
You're like, well, I guess not. Like it's like, yeah, if that's what you want to do,
right.
Do it.
Yes.
Everyone will always doubt you until you're successful, and then they'll ask you questions about it after the fact. I could care less what people think as I'm going through it.
I think that's a strength of yours. Do you think?
I absolutely think it's a superpower that I have, that the fact that, and it's funny because I make YouTube videos and because I do a lot of stuff where I'm looking at a camera and talking, people have this idea that I so care what everyone thinks, and I honestly don't at all. I share things because I love sharing just kind of what I'm journeying through, but I honestly have never in anything I've done. I will seek counsel. I love wise counsel, so I don't want people to hear. Like I love hearing what people think.
Yeah.
But if I have a passion for something and I bring it to you and you don't like it, it doesn't deter me and tell me not to go. Now, if I were to go say like, do you think this is a good business idea? And I'm seeking business counsel and they're like, no, because here's some proof. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to those kind of things.
Right.
But if it's like, I want to do something huge and that seems massive to most people, I'm only inspired by people that doubt. But I also, because of the fact that at the end of the day, if I fail, I don't care that I failed. I don't care if you told me that I was going to fail and I said I wasn't and that I failed. If I fail, I fail. And I'm like, okay, well, let's move on. Let's learn from it. Where I think that's the problem is people only go with what you say because then they don't feel bad if they fail because now it's like, well, you and I both agreed that was the right thing. Where if I go if you say I'm going to fail and I say I'm not and I fail, now I have to deal with it. You have that I know you're internally thinking, told you. I don't care about the told you.
Yeah.
Like, because it's okay with me.
Yeah.
You have to. I think we talked about the other day over coffee. Like, entrepreneurs should always have had failed a bunch of things before they have any chance of success.
Yes.
Because you don't know. It's like people that have lived through this, since 2008, an unbelievable economy. Is a business owner that successful that's never lived through what we could go into, which is a major recession.
Yeah.
Anyone can thrive when things are great.
Right.
But how you get up when you're punched in the face
Yep.
is really determines and actually teaches you what you need to learn.
Exactly.
So
you learn the most in
Yep.
your failures, for sure. And I can't remember that quote that we were talking about the other day at coffee. I think
Yeah.
it was Richard Branson. Is that his name? I don't know. Somebody said, I won't even invest in somebody who
Right.
hasn't failed in at least 2 other businesses. Which, and I think a lot of people are so afraid of failure. I mean, I'm going to raise my hand on that one. Like failing and disappointing people has been something that has really held me back. And it's something that I'm working on. Because you're going to fail. It's part of life.
Yep.
And even when you look at most inventions, they have happened because of a quote unquote failed other invention
Right.
or experiment.
Yeah.
So like, let's go into 2023 not being so afraid of failing and also prioritizing what we want
Yep.
and what we desire and
Yep.
taking some time to really look inward. So
get realistic with your goals.
Yep.
Have a plan for it. Think about why you're actually doing it. And then get going. Just do it.
Just
2023
keep going.
could be your year. They say it's the GOAT year because it's Michael Jordan year.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if that actually matters, but
I think it does.
Okay.
I feel like it does.
it matters. You heard it here. You heard it here first.
And we hope that this podcast for you this year is a huge, like, positive push in the right direction. And we're excited about guests that we have, our own episodes that we're going to be talking about. So we're on this journey together.
Yep. Thanks for being here. So keep on watching.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See ya.